Oh God, what is her name? I will not knock over my desk. Hi y'all, this is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. It's time for another What I Read This Week video. I'll be talking about books I read from April 7th through the 13th. I read 4 books that week, so get your comfy sexy on. I've got a sweater and a sports bra. Get your beverage of choice. It is early, I have tea, and get ready for some recaps. The first book I read was Between Love and Loathing by Shain. This is book 2 in the Hardy Billionaire series. I read the first book last year, did not love it, but I've seen enough posts about this book, Between Commitment and Betrayal, that I wanted to give it a shot. This series follows the Hardy brothers specifically. They are a family. There are 2 sisters, but they are already paired off in a previous series. And this is about Dominic. Dominic is the eldest brother. He is broody. He is very regimented. He is absolutely stubborn as shit. These brothers had been in business with a man whose name is not important. All of them work together to build this empire. In Florida, they had a space with a fitness studio, with a hotel, restaurants, this and that, and they're expanding all over the country, and I believe even globally. In the first book, the man they were partnered with dies, and as part of his will, each of these brothers seems to be faced with something in order to keep their part of the business. In the first book, it was, "You have to marry my daughter." Now, Dominic is an architect, and as part of his business venture, he is building a resort out in California. It is very chic, it is very modern, it is very monochrome, white, black, clean, lines, everything. The other character we focus on is Clara. Clara was actually the stepdaughter of their business partner. Clara's mom is terrible. I have no idea how her mom bagged that man because he seemed wonderful. Clara had been working and running a bakery in the Florida complex, and as part of the will, she was given a spot in the California resort. Dominic is livid because this is something that he has no control over. He doesn't feel like her aesthetic will work for him. He doesn't even eat sugar. That's the kind of person he is. Clara has been controlled by her mom and her sister. Her mom is even physically abusive toward her. So if that's a trigger for you, please be careful. Clara leaves Florida to go to California to start her bakery and has to stand up not just to Dominic and his designer against all the ideas that make her unique and her baking unique and all of the things that she knows people will love, impactful and present, but she has to learn how to stand up for herself. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I like this book a lot better. They end up fake dating. That's a trope I like because Dominic's ex makes some comment about, oh, Dominic wants to be closer to me in California. She's a hot mess, and that rumor causes other businesses to have problems because she's so problematic. So they end up fake dating. Along the way, their dating becomes real, this and that. It's odd, I have to say. Dominic is very angry about Clara. He doesn't like that she's a pushover. He wants her to stand up for himself. And yet he's also the person trying to force his ideas upon her and force her to conform to what he wants. So it's a very odd dynamic. He also has quite a few fuck it moments. In fact, the first time that they hook up, it's in her kitchen, in her bakery, which is not sanitary. It's just an odd situation in that regard. Over the course of their relationship, they move in together. He starts to respect her ideas, to give her more say, to open his eyes to how working with others can really be beneficial to him. He puts art in his house, pictures of her, because she's always behind the camera, and in her apartment she'd only had pictures of other people. He buys rainbow books for his office because he knows that they'll make her happy. They do come to an understanding where his strength is lent to her and her kindness is lent to him. Was this my favorite grumpy Shain billionaire romance ever? No. Do I really wish I had gone and read her other series because the sister's morally gray husband seems so much fun? Yeah, I do. That might be what you see from me next, is going back to the previous series. Because as much as I like a kind of white boy billionaire, I get bored with them and I like a little morally gray thrown in. But that's just me. Now on to my notes. Okay, so here's 2 instances of how Dominic is odd about Clara's spine. She didn't live in or understand the real world, lies, but she was going to learn to live and fight for what she wanted in mine, or she wasn't going to survive. That I would make sure of. And then he says to her, if you want to go head to head with me, you can try. You won't win though, little fighter. This is my playground. So internally, he wants her to have a spine, but externally, he keeps pushing her down. It's a very odd dynamic to me. And Little Fighter is the nickname that sticks. Clara has a friend. He's famous and he shows up and Dominic gets his, it's a man, and Dominic gets his, panties in a twist. She says, he's not my boyfriend, he's a friend. Ever had a friend that's a girl? I let my eyes rake over her body, making sure she caught me. He'd fuck you if you gave him the chance. Oh, he does when I do. Her smile was saccharine as she suggested. Still doesn't make him my boyfriend. I felt it like a gut punch. Fuck. 1 point for her. So they do, his attraction to her and even hers for him is very apparent very early. And the first time they hook up really early in the book, he's immediately like, this is mine now. Mine to taste over and over. Cool. Her thighs moved like her body belonged to me and I smiled into my pussy. It was mine, all mine. That's aggressive, sir. That's real aggressive for this woman that you say you don't like. Boo is my note because my fist barely wrapped fully around him. Boo. We might have been fake dating, but I was gonna kiss her for real every fucking time. Clara had recently been diagnosed with lupus. And one of the things she struggles with is taking care of her body enough to avoid a flare. They don't call it lupus for a while. My note is, it's lupus, right? I know the symptoms enough that I recognize them, but they don't say it for quite some time, which I was annoyed by. It's a lot of dirty talk. Good girl. I was diagnosed with lupus a while ago, and I know it's not as serious as cancer, and my note is, knew it! The thing that made me read this book was probably a Facebook or Instagram ad where, the billionaire gets a call from his accountant. There are these crazy charges on your card. Do you want me to, report fraud? No, it's not fraud. That's just my future wife throwing a tantrum. She spent $100,000 on something. I don't even remember. But that's my future wife. So he starts rumors about that too. He gets real serious about her. What's she going to be? Her voice came out, breathy whisper, my fucking wife. Okay, so if you like a my wife moment. And that was it. In general, Billionaire is not my favorite. I find them they're really easy reading, but very few of them stick out to me. I don't think this is going to be one of those. If you're someone who loves Billionaire, absolutely read the Hardy Billionaires. I think I'm gonna go to some morally gray men instead. I read this. It's All He Wants for Christmas is a Fingerling. Did I purchase this with my own money? No, I did not. It was given to a friend of mine who decided to give it to me. This is a book that I've heard about. I really had no interest in reading it. Omegaverse is lovely. I find I have to handle my queer Omegaverse in small doses. There's so much suspension of disbelief. There's so many appendages doing things that appendages don't normally do. If you're reading if you're reading FF, either way, it doesn't matter. Queer Omegaverse can get really out there. I take it in small doses. Now you add one of the MMCs in this book being a potato shifter, and that's a whole nother level of crazy that I'm not really searching for. Besides the whole potato thing, it's not actually any stranger than any other mpreg Omegaverse you're gonna read. It's 2 men, they are shifters, they are mates, they bond, mpreg, I think I've already said that. There's drama in the pack. The potato part is weird, but instead of a bite, he has to, cut a piece of him off and eat it. Look, it's not badly written. There's nothing wrong with this book. J.P. Sayle was creative enough to think of a potato shifter for an Omegaverse. That is not a normal thought. So A+ for creativity. I will never read this book again. I didn't highlight anything in it. I didn't really want to. So this happened. The next book I read was Twisted Queen by Penelope Black. Gilded Princess is the first book in this series. I read it in April of 2024 in prep for Wild and Windy, and I didn't love it because it's supposed to be a why choose situation, but there was no why choosing. We just got introduced to Madison and then all the men that are supposedly part of this situationship. It's dark, it's mafia, there's kidnapping. If you're calling something a why choose, even if they're not all together yet, I want to see her choosing. I want to see her messing around with some of these guys, and she doesn't. It's very light spice. So I finally got around to reading book 2 because I wanted to see, and I know Penelope Black has other why choose mafia stories. I think there's an Irish mafia one with one of Madison's cousins. This still didn't become a why choose situation. It wasn't healthy. I'm going to ruin a little bit for Gilded Princess, but she is kidnapped at the end of that book. She escapes. The guys all come together to get it. It felt very anticlimactic how she was recovered in the first place. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a I'm gonna save you, guns a-blazing. It was very odd. And then all the men take her away to protect her, and she just announces, I'm dating all of you and you have to live with it. No, you can't date anyone else. This is not a healthy example of polyamory. It's not healthy. It wasn't fun. And to my taste, there still wasn't enough why choosing. There was just why to me. This one also ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. I'm good. I don't need a slow burn why choose. I'm gonna be honest. They also she felt really young. I don't remember feeling like that at the end of Twisted Queen, but it's been Gilded Princess, but it's been a really long time. I'm good. I don't need to continue with this at all. There's a good girl. There's a little bit of spice, but again, if you have Leo, Mateo, Dante, Rafe, you got 4 dudes. I shouldn't have one spicy moment. I don't even know what I was saying. This is the quote. That's not fair, and that's not how this works. You don't get to just say those kinds of things to me. And my note is, yes, but y'all are doing this wrong. That's it. That's enough for me. So what was a pretty basic and blah reading week was fixed with This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I had put off reading this book for a very long time because before I let go, the first book in the Skyland series destroyed me. It is so heavy. It's so heavy. But this book is not. It's not that heavy. This book is about Soledad, one of Yaz's friends. The Skyland series is about 3 female friends, Yaz, Soledad, and Hendrix. This is Soledad's story. In Before I Let Go, we get the impression that Soledad's husband is trash. And this book proves that he is. Proves that he is. Okay? And I know I said this already. Like, you saw spoiler. It's so many spoilers. Spoilers. Her husband is trash. And it starts off like this. So it's not real. It's not a surprise. Turns out her husband has been cheating on her with his assistant. Yeah. And embezzling money from his company. And he's been bitching about this new head of accounting for weeks who's out to get him. Dude, you're embezzling money. The head of accounting is not out to get you. You are doing things wrong. You are in the wrong. He's also very neglectful of Soledad. They're getting ready to go to the company Christmas party. She's looking great. She sees a man from across the room. Literally across the room, they make eye contact and it is Sparks. He comes over to talk to her. And she learns that this man she has Sparks with is the head of accounting. His name is Judah, and he's amazing. He's the MMC. So very quickly in the story, her husband is arrested for embezzlement. She discovers the affair with his secretary. Oh, yeah, because he gave her chlamydia or gonorrhea or something like that, like some STD. Fuck you, dude. And she, in a rage, trashes his man cave and discovers this secret flash drive with all of the information about his embezzling. She gives it over to the authorities in exchange for access to the money that they had so that she can, pay her mortgage, buy groceries, keep a roof over her and her 3 daughters' head. So now Edward is in jail. He ended up pleading guilty. Duh. She divorces him while she's in prison, and she is rebuilding their life, hers and her daughters. She becomes a social media influencer. She's been a homemaker for years. She cooks, she cleans, she has lots of tips and tricks and recipes. And with the help of especially Hendrix, one of her friends who's a talent manager, starts this online persona and succeeds. She makes a vinaigrette that goes viral. She starts to do brand partnerships. She's getting money from the engagement on her social media posts, and she is building a successful business. Judah is a single dad. He co-parents with his ex-wife. They co-parent really well. He has twin boys who are both autistic. And Kennedy Ryan is so lovely. She's a great author's note at the beginning of this. She is also the mother of an autistic child. And while this might not be everyone with autism's experience, this is true to some people with autism's experience. Judah steps away from Soledad, even though there's this connection between the two of them, but he wants to know how she's doing. And when he finds out that she's doing gift baskets or some sort of basket thing, he buys one, and she ends up being the person to deliver it, and they connect. They live in the same area, and they start to see each other secretly. They resist and then come together, and they're so fucking sweet together. They're so good together. Soledad spends a lot of this book building herself up, rebuilding herself after the absolute disaster that her husband left her with. But what she discovers is she built herself too hard. And is she brave enough to open herself up to love again, to let Judah in? And that's a journey that she has to go on. When you've been burned like she did, when you had to be so strong for your daughters, for yourself, can you let yourself be vulnerable again? Judah stands up for what he wants. He's very clear what he wants with Soledad. He wants a relationship. He wants her. And he hasn't wanted anyone since his ex-wife. They ended. He doesn't want his ex-wife. But he hasn't searched for anyone or sought out any companionship. He's been the primary parent to these 2 boys. And watching him go after what he wants and be really vulnerable with Soledad and clear with his intentions was beautiful. So often when we feel vulnerable, we hide what we want because we're afraid of that rejection. Judah is a great example of how to be vulnerable and kind and a supportive partner. These 2, it was not as emotionally devastating for me as Before I Let Go. I think Before I Let Go for me was so hard because Yaz and Josiah's relationship was where the drama and the agony was. For Soledad and Judah, their relationship between the 2 of them, while there's a will we, won't we, that's not the drama. It's what's going on around them. That's the drama. The prologue is when Josiah and his ex are divorcing, trying to figure out who the boys are going to live with, who's going to keep the house. One of the boys just, who is nonverbal at the time, programs his speakers to say, "Stay with me." My heart broke for Judah. And so that's how Judah ends up with primary custody of the boys. Oh my God, her husband's so horrible. Soledad's husband, this is the beginning. This is my I don't like this sticky because he's terrible. And he says like, "Oh, you're not, like you used to be." And she's like, "I'm in the best shape of my life. I don't mean on the outside." He reaches for his suit jacket. "You have pushed out 3 kids. Things get loose down there. What's that thing women do to tighten up? Vaginal rejuvenation or whatever? Maybe that's where you start reviving our sex life." What fucking trash. The wife always knows when you're fucking your secretary. This is so hard for the girls. So Judah shows up after Edward's been arrested saying, "Hey, I want to help you survive this because the company that I work for wants to go after Edward, and if they think you know anything, they will come after you too. And he says, there's evidence, we just need more of it. I don't actually give a fuck what happens to Edward because he deserves those consequences. I'm here because you and your daughters don't. He's such a good man. Oh, it was chlamydia. And my note is, Edward is trash. This series has found family at the core of it, the women supporting each other. There aren't enough sonnets for friendship. Not enough songs for the kind of love not born of blood or body, but of time and care. They are the ones we choose to laugh and cry and live with. When lovers come and go, friends are the ones who remain. We are each other's constants. My note is, I love that Edward's case was cracked open like this, with Soledad finding the evidence and giving it up. Brilliant. Charles, her maiden name. This is after Soledad tells Judah she's not dating. I think that's great, especially so soon after your divorce. He squeezes my hand, which he's still holding, and I don't want to distract from what you're learning about yourself. It's what he should say. It's what I want him to say, what I need him to say. But Judah is something rare. I think we could be spectacular together. I'm not ready, though. And I think I love Judah for recognizing what she needs, and for her recognizing the amazingness that is Judah and also what she needs. Soledad, my mother was Puerto Rican and African, so I grew up with the best of both kitchens, so to speak. Yes. She has a whole thing about food and cooking, and yes, she did. Soledad's sister is moving to Texas to open up a bookstore with her best friend / soon-to-be girlfriend. And Soledad, when she says I'm moving to Texas, says, and you're endangering your reproductive rights for what? I ask. She's not incorrect. A little nice dig, Kennedy. I don't even know who says kiss me. But I said, just a kiss? This slow burn is killing me. Hendrix. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Hendrix says, loaded with shopping bags when she enters, bringing tidings of joy and rich auntie energy. Hendrix, I love her so much. I love her so much. I've come to realize that a woman who wants more and realizes she deserves it is a dangerous thing. Never has a man so affected me by simply holding my hand. But every time Judah takes my fingers in his, it's like the sun trapped between our palms. At that point of contact is both searing and a comfort. Prose is so beautiful. She orgasms from nipple stimulation alone. I know it's possible to do that. It's never happened to me. This is the start of chapter 34, and my note before the chapter even starts is, this better be where the slow burn ends. It is. She gets a little embarrassed about her grooming habits, and he says, I would hack through a forest to get to this pussy, and I've waited long enough. No man should ever really care about your grooming habits. Assuming you're grooming, you should be washing, you should be clean. I have feelings about that, about men commenting on women's grooming habits. So he has been planning this for some time. You should have seen what he had in his nightstand. Condoms? Hendrix asks, cracking a smile. Yes, so many condoms. I press a napkin to my lips to keep from spewing food on a laugh. He was like uber prepared, which is so Judah. I'm surprised he didn't have lube. Girl's gotta carry her own, Hendrix tisks. I always have emergency lube. And my note is, I love her. Hendrix is the last book. She's my favorite. Oh, this is when Judah says hooking up in secret is not enough for me. But I'm afraid he's right. That taking what we can instead of what we both deserve is a disservice to what we can be when the time is right. And my note is totally a third act breakup. It is. This was one that didn't bother me. As you can tell, I totally forgot there was a third act breakup because they were secretly hooking up, not really dating, and then they came back together really quickly. This quote, maybe it's not, am I ready for love again, but am I ready to love myself that fiercely no matter what? It brings me back to the question I keep circling in my head. Can I be the love of my own life? And that's the last thing that I have highlighted. This really ended my week on such a high note. So as blah as the first 3 books kind of were to me, this one made up for it. And that's everything I read from April 7th through 13th. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these books or what you read that week this year. Like and subscribe so you can find out when I read the final book in the Skyland series. And until next time, this is Jace, holding space for you.